How's it going, guys? We are live. Welcome to the Bags Riches podcast. I'm your host, Zach Ginn. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to go from 0 properties to over 100 rental properties with the power of wholesaling real estate. The most exciting part about this is I have Dave Payerchin on, and Dave actually did this for real. He actually is able to cash flow hundreds of thousands of dollars per month with wholesaling real estate, except let's say wholesaling, like he doesn't want to wholesale anymore. He's still getting cash flow coming in all through real estate and the skills he learned from there. So I'm excited about this one. We're going to change people's lives today. And if you're young in real estate wholesaling, you need to watch this video. This is going to open your eyes. Dave, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. And I think one thing you got to add to your intro here, Zach, is there's never been a better time to buy and hold real estate because we're living in an environment where the interest rates to buy real estate are absolutely atrociously low. And we all have the opportunity to create a lot of cash flow, build wealth. Hey, I'm a huge fan of wholesaling. We do it in our own business. It keeps the lights on, but none of us want to be wholesaling properties when we're, 60 years old. I'm a little bit older. You don't want to be wholesaling properties when you're probably 40 years old, more close to my age, but buying and holding is essential. We're going to help your audience learn how to do that. And look, if you figured out wholesaling, you've already got the fundamentals under your belt. You know how to find great deals. You know how to negotiate great deals. And now you just got to kind of take the next step and actually hang on to some of these things.
Definitely. So I've been looking at you for a while. Obviously, look at Dave on Facebook. You're going to think he's just talking about just a general buy and hold guy or a syndicator, but you're a lot more than that. And you actually have wholesaling under your belt as a foundation, which I think is really cool to connect with these people here.
Yeah.
You have a lot of really awesome things why I wanted to bring you on. First of all, you've been through a real estate crash, so you know exactly what's coming on the horizon. You know exactly what to do if something like that happened. You're legit in this business. I've talked to all the Cleveland guys. You're real in this business. And you have rental properties to actually prove it. And it's really exciting. So the first question I got for you is, how did you get started in real estate wholesaling?
Well, I will answer that. And we all got our story. But for the listeners, I don't foresee a crash happening anytime soon. And we'll build on that.
Okay.
I think that's, for lack of a better term, that could be like a clickbait thing. I know you don't use that on the screenshot or whatever you're gonna thumbnail you're gonna promote this with, but no, I think now's a great time to be buying assets, and we'll definitely dive deep. Don't worry about a crash, everybody. We got lots to talk about, but I started my journey like a lot of people. I actually started at the bookstores, reading all the books I could on real estate, wanting to build wealth. I don't have a wealthy family. My dad worked at McDonald's and put himself through nursing school, and he worked at the Veterans Hospital. And then my mom was a nurse as well. So good old-fashioned blue-collar family from Cleveland, Ohio. And I moved out right after high school, barely finished high school, moved out to Arizona, did construction jobs, and wanted more out of my life and just didn't want to move back to Ohio. I was in my young 20s and ventured out. I bought courses like Carlton Sheets course and, old school courses. Yeah, I wanted to be successful, like probably a lot of your listeners, and just made it happen. So I started out driving neighborhoods and finding the owners and tracking down owners. The fundamentals have not changed from this business. And everything we get into today, Zach, it's the same stuff, man. I mean, you find a good deal, you flip a good deal, you make money. But, my story, we all have our own journey. I started back in 2005. Now, you're a young buck. You're 20. Are you old enough to have a beer yet? Or how old are you?
I'm 21. I don't drink, but
you're 21.
Yeah.
So do you know what was going on in the real estate market in 05?
Yep, I remember.
You remember?
I was in Port St. Lucie, so it was all rental properties. It was going crazy until 2009, where property values went down 50%. I know in 2010 from 2005.
Why was it going crazy? Why was it going crazy?
It's a rental market, Port St. Lucie, Florida. It's a suburb of West Palm Beach, and they're all new built constructions.
why was the real estate market across the entire nation going crazy?
Oh, because they just gave money out.
Correct. They're giving money to anybody who had a pulse. They were called ninja loans, no income, no job, no assets. And whenever the money is flowing free like that, it makes everybody a buyer, right? So when everybody's a buyer, and you're selling real estate is the hot commodity to sell. You can make a lot of profits doing that. So that's what I did, my friend. So in 2005, when they were giving away all these ninja loans, I was the one selling these properties. I was driving neighborhoods, finding the owner, getting great deals, wholesaling back in 2005. Everybody was a buyer. In my very first year in business, Zach, I made $180,000 profit. I was 22 years old. Now, giving $180,000 cash to a 22-year-old with zero financial literacy is absolutely a death sentence. It's a hand grenade. It exploded. I went belly up in 07, 08 and had to lick my wounds. But what that experience taught me is that I wanted a business and wanted to create a business like I think probably a lot of your listeners want, is not just relying on wholesaling, not just relying on credit to be loose so I could sell properties. I wanted sustainable, positive cash flow to create a portfolio. So even if the market was not raging hot, I can still live off the rental properties. So going through the hardship of the last downturn, it made me realize I wanted to hang on to more real estate and collect that positive cash flow. And it just taught me so many lessons that are invaluable at this time.
I agree. I mean, the one thing I've learned in wholesaling is from wholesaling deals with bad landlords is I learned exactly how a good rental property is from a bad one. And the one thing I did want to talk to you is with your rental properties.
Sure.
You're very what you're doing when it comes to a rental. Like you don't have a management company say, hey, bring whoever you want. You vet your tenants really well. So my first question for you is how do you vet a good tenant versus a bad one?
That's a phenomenal question, Zach. So, I mean, look, we could all do a background search. We could all do a social media search and see if somebody's, we can see if their email address is, whatever, like crazy. But one of my mentors taught me this, and I want all of your listeners and yourself, Zach, to take this to heart. One of my mentors taught me it's all about the setup. So when you're doing leasing, when you're first getting involved in real estate investing, when you're buying rental properties, I encourage people to do the lease signings themselves. No one is going to care more about this investment property and the performance of this tenant than you, the owner. Sure, you could outsource it to a tenant or to a property manager, right? But there's nothing like, actually doing the lease signing with a tenant and letting them know the 3 magic rules. So here's Dave's 3 magic rules for any tenant. Number 1, pay your rent on time. And let them know you got to pay your rent on time. This is the agreement that you're entering. If you don't think you can pay the rent on time, don't enter this agreement, right? Number 2 is don't damage the property, because we're going to inspect the property every 90 days. It's written right here in the lease, and it's going to come back onto you, and they could boot you out if you're not taking care of the property. And then number 3 is don't fight with your neighbors. That's more applicable when there's multi-units involved and you're kind of sharing a wall, if you will, with a multi-unit building. But those 3 rules were taught to me by my mentors, and you got to lay down the law when you're doing a lease agreement, and no one is going to lay down the law more so than you, the investor or the owner. But I will share this here, like added bonus, never approach the tenant signing as the owner. Even if you are the owner, just say you're the property management assistant. Just say, look, I'm just doing my job. I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm enforcing these rules and sounding so harsh and telling you about all the bad things that are going to happen if you don't follow these rules. But this is my job. I get paid on Friday like everybody else. Never approach a lease signing. Never let them know that you are the owner, right? Because they're going to try to squeeze you at that point, try to, get some favoritism out of you and whatnot. always approach a lease signing as if you're just some random assistant, but let them know the rules of the lease and let them know they're signing a legally binding agreement. This is very, very important stuff when building a portfolio.
Definitely. I'm telling you that getting the right tenant in there is super important. So let's start it from the top here. So obviously everyone knows on this channel, I talk about wholesaling nonstop. So we can get into a million, like with your structure. I know you do a lot of cold calling, you're finding leads. When it comes to your wholesaling operation and your rental property operation, what percentage of these like quote unquote deals you get per month is percentage of these going to be rental properties? Are you keeping the best and getting rid of the rest? Like what's kind of your process of that?
So are you familiar with the BRRRR model, Zach?
Oh yeah.
What's the BRRRR model?
Buy, rent, refinance, repeat.
Basically, right? Buy, renovate, refinance.
Renovate. All right.
Yeah, no, you got it though. So what are banks lending on? If I found a great deal on a property right now and I was going to buy this property to fix it up, get it rented out, and then go to refinance, and I took it to a bank, what LTV is the bank willing to give me money at? Do you happen to know?
Is it 60-40 or 40-60?
No, 75%.
Okay.
So the bank is willing to give us 75% of the value of the property. That's how it works on a BRRRR.
Okay, on a BRRRR. Okay.
You follow me. So
yeah.
Let's do a quick example here. So everybody, I don't care if you're on the treadmill or if you're listening in the car, I want you to just visualize here real quick. The property's after repair value is $100K, right?
Okay.
Let's say you're getting it because you're a great marketer. You listen to this podcast, you know how to find deals, and you're getting it for $50K.
Okay.
It needs $25,000 in work. What is your all in? 75K, right? 75% of the value, right?
Okay. Okay. Got it. All right.
What questions do you have?
Yeah. So are you talking about loan to value, or is it including the deposit? Like what's the situation with that?
Total loan to value. So total
Okay.
loan to value of the after repair value.
Okay.
Right?
35. All right.
So an investor like me and you, if we're buying a property to fix up and then, do a refinance, when we go to get it refinanced, the bank is only willing to give us 75% of the after repair value of the house.
Okay.
You got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So as a real estate entrepreneur, like all of us are, I get this question all the time, Zach, where it's like, well, what percentage of the ones do you keep versus what percentage of the ones do you sell? No one has a cookie cutter formula because you don't know what your marketing is going to bring you. And the question is, how many of these properties can we be all into for 75% or less? Because the only ones that we're hanging on to are the ones that we're all in for 75% or less of the after repair value. Because when we go to refinance, the bank's only giving us 75%. So unless we plan on bringing money to the table at this refinance, we got to be all in for 75%. So let the deal dictate what you're going to do with it.
Okay.
Does this make sense? And the better deal you could get, the more likely it will be a buy and hold. But if it doesn't fit the all-in 75% of the after repair value, when you refinance, are you prepared to bring money to the table? Because the bank's only giving you 75% minus fees. I mean, they're still going to charge a point for origination. There's going to be closing costs. So the only stuff that we hang on to, which is newly purchased, is stuff that we can be all into for 75% of the value or less. That's the name of the game. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, these days in this market, obviously empty nesters around the country, they're not moving. Millennials all over the country are wanting to buy. Construction costs are extremely high. So therefore, we have a hot real estate market because there's very little supply. Everything comes down to supply and demand, right? So in this day and age, yes, we got a ton of cold callers. We do a bunch of direct mail, pay-per-click, the whole deal. But it's getting harder and harder to be all in for 75% or less. As you could imagine, we need to get a great deal on the property, right? So a lot of the stuff we buy, we're all in for 85%. Does that mean we don't do the deal? No, it just means it's probably not the best buy and hold candidate unless we really want to own the property, because we're going to have to come out of pocket to refinance this property. But a lot of the deals so to answer your question, yes, we're flipping more than anything right now, simply because it's very difficult to fit the buy and hold model, the BRRRR model, 75% of the value, to be all in. Does that make sense?
Yeah. For also those, would your debt to income ratio be a big factor of this too?
Not really. I mean,
No.
the stuff we're doing, DTI, debt to income ratio, is more so a factor when you are kind of a onesie twosie investor, or you're buying a primary residence for yourself and your family, if that's what you're doing. That's where the DTI comes in. But when I think you can get an FHA loan, they'll fund 97 to 95%, right? But when I'm talking about the 75% stuff with the BRRRR, that's for us investors who are basically, that's the max that the banks are willing to lend to guys like us, who have already exhausted our primary residence loan. We've exhausted our, golden 10 is what we like to call it, the conventional mortgages. And that only goes up to 80% anyway. It gives you a little buffer there. But all of us are allowed 10 conventional mortgages in our own name, and then 10 in a spouse's name. After you've exhausted your primary residence, the golden 10 is what we're calling. Now you're forced to play by the rules I'm talking to you about. We're all in for 75%. So, the way we make decisions on what we're going to do with a property ultimately is dictated by what lending is available to us. If we're going to do a refi or a BRRRR, we got to follow the rules of the bank, because they're the ones doing the refinance. So anything that we could be all into for 75%, all in meaning purchase and rehab, right? Anything we could be all into for 75% of the after repair value or less is going to be a candidate for a buy and hold property, because we know we could refinance those properties. But anything above that, all in 75%, it's more of a candidate to flip. And, these days it's harder and harder to be all in for 75%. And that's why we're flipping more than we ever have actually in quite a long time.
Okay. And are you flipping in Cleveland?
Yeah, we do Cleveland, we do Columbus, Dayton, and Cincinnati.
Okay. Wow. And those are pretty good markets. Are you doing more like the lower price points or the medium over there?
It's always best to be on the median price range for your listeners. That's going to be the safest bet, because, in inflationary times that we're experiencing right now, people have a little bit of money behind them, and maybe they're living on the low end. Well, they want to move themselves up to the median price range. Well, if things were to shift and you're kind of hedging your portfolio and maybe you're living above your means, and deflationary times or credit crunch or something like that was to happen, well, where you're moving to is that median, that affordable housing. So we're a big, in my personal opinion, affordable housing, real estate that produces cash flow is the strongest asset class in the country right now, in the world, I would say. And so, yes, we're right about that median and just getting the best possible deal we possibly can.
I agree. The one thing I do want to talk about before we get into more of a rental property standpoint here is just your opinion. We got younger wholesalers watching this. So people got money. They got a bunch of entrepreneurial friends. They say, let's say you make 100K. A lot of kids watching this making 100K a year wholesaling. So you got an Amazon store, you got cryptocurrency, you got the stock market, you got day trading, you got wholesaling, and then you got doing rental properties. What is your pitch for why rental properties are better than most of those other things besides wholesaling?
Well, let's go through them one by one. So the first thing you said was Amazon stores. I don't have a lot of knowledge on that, so
Yeah.
I can't really comment on that particular one. The next one you said was crypto. And I'm not bullish on crypto long term. I wish I would be. I'm all about a decentralized community, a decentralized economy. Look, I'm a libertarian with the best of them. I mean, I am not a pro government guy. I'm not talking red or blue. I think the less government interference with entrepreneurs is better for the free market. It creates more, capitalism is a good thing. True capitalism, not crony capitalism. So as far as, cryptocurrency, I understand the point. It was created after, the 2008 and 9 great financial crisis, the banks, getting bailed out by the government. I don't support that one bit. There was Occupy Wall Street. And that's kind of where that was born. I, truly appreciate it. Unfortunately, I just think the Fed and the central banks are way too powerful. The government's unfortunately way too powerful. That's why I'm not bullish long term on the success of a decentralized currency. I do think, our country, and China's already doing it, and, central banks around the world will move to a digital currency. It's not going to be one of the cryptos that somebody can buy and put your cash into. They're going to have their own thing. And the whole purpose of that is going to be to control, and see what's going on. And ultimately, it's not a good thing. So I'm not bullish on crypto long term. I really wish, I really hope it would be successful. I just don't think it will be ultimately. I'm talking like 50-year projection here. What else is there to invest in? A stock market? I think there's great stock picks. I mean, you can hedge inflation. You can make money in the stock market. I love the stock market. I'm in the stock market every day. I might not consider, like, I'm more of a long-term guy. I'm more of an investor than a day trader. So I'm not really into the meme stocks and AMC. And I do appreciate, though, the small guy coming up, Wall Street bets and taking out, doing things. I root for, the average person to, compete against Wall Street. I think it's great. But yeah, there's a lot of money to be made in the stock market if you know what you're doing. We've had a huge bull run, honestly, since the great financial crisis. Will there be a correction? I mean, we all kind of anticipate that. Stocks are extremely overpriced right now. So if you're buying into the stock market now, I would be aware of, PE ratios and price to earnings ratios. But a lot of companies are making money, man. When you printed as much money has been printed over the last year and a half, 2 years, a lot of that flowed into the economy, and people are out there spending, especially right now. One asset class you left out was the precious metals. I'm more bullish on gold. I think gold will outperform the S&P 500 probably over the next decade. That's my personal thesis, and I am, allocating some funds that way. But as far as real estate goes, it is the ultimate inflation hedge. Why? Because when you're owning a rental property, you're buying it, as we mentioned in the very beginning, interest rates are at an all-time low, right? So if you can buy an asset with, we're borrowing money about 4.25%, 4.5% right now. That's where we're at, for a lot of these bird deals we do. If you can fix that rate for 30 years, well, if you're playing the inflation trade, what is going to happen to the purchasing power of the dollar in the future? What do you think? Is the dollar going up in value or going down in value?
Wasn't the CPI like 5% year over year?
CPI is not changing anytime soon. That's a big lie.
CPI, right?
Excuse me?
Is real estate in the CPI?
Leasing is. Rents are.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The challenge, with the CPI that I have and a lot of economists have is, it's basically like the report card for the Fed, but they make their own report card. We all would get A's, so they'll tell you it's 5%, but it's actually 10%. Real inflation is always higher than what they're going to propose. But no, rents are definitely included in the CPI. but it doesn't need to be included in the CPI to know if you're a landlord, rents are going up because there's so much demand for rentals, real estate in general. So why is real estate the preferred asset class for somebody like myself? Well, rents are hedged against inflation. So when the cost of living is increasing all around us, if you own rental properties, part of that cost of living is the rental income that you are collecting is also rising with that cost of living. That is the purest definition of a hedge, right? So when your income continues to rise with the cost of living, you're safe. It's the fixed income and the savers who get crushed during inflationary times. If you're fixed on the income that you're getting, you get $500 a month, and that's going to be your income for the next forever. Well, as the cost of living increases, the $500 is not increasing. It's going to put you in a pickle. Well, you can turn that trade on its head by borrowing 30-year fixed rate financing, because when your payment is fixed for all that time, but your rents continue to go up, that payment, for instance, if your payment now is $500 per month, well, that $500, which is going down in value, the $500 that you're paying today, is not going to buy the same amount of goods and services as it will in the future. It's going to buy less, right? So as your dollar goes down in price or in purchasing power, but your income is increasing, that is a great reason why to buy real estate as an inflation hedge, is get that 30-year fixed rate money, because your payment's not going to change, but the rents keep going up. That's as simple as we can possibly keep it here. So you're getting the better end of the trade than the bank, and that's always a good thing, right?
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I mean, trust me, rentals are amazing. I love them. Other thing outside of, go ahead.
Oh, just was going to say, there's also amazing tax benefits. So you as a wholesaler in your community as wholesalers, you guys realize that's treated as earned income, which is, one of the most expensive, one of the biggest expenses of us in our life. It's taxes and interest. This is like how we live. This is America, right? So, you're paying a lot of tax on your day-to-day wholesale deals. But if you can offset some of those taxes and use the tax benefits of owning rental properties against your wholesaling profits, when you own rental properties, you get to take advantage of something called accelerated depreciation, right? You get to write off future losses against today's income. So the ultimate business model, in my opinion, is to wholesale with this hand and then buy and hold some properties over on this hand. And these deductions from your buy and hold portfolio, which you're buying with amazing financing, as we talked about, are going to offset the high taxes from your wholesaling income. Very important to do this so you're not giving all your money away. Not to mention, I feel that wholesaling in of itself is not a sustainable business. I mean, what are you going to do? Leave it to your kids? No. I mean, it's completely dictated by your buyers, and your buyers are not loyal to you. It's not like it's a car auto shop where the people are just going to keep bringing their cars to you, right? Everything's determined by the heat of the market, right? So I feel all of your listeners and wholesalers, if wholesaling is your main thing, it's a great way to get started. I think you should keep wholesaling, as I am, to keep the lights on and keep the income coming in. But you've got to buy and hold some properties long term, or else you're always going to be chasing the next deal. And then one day you may find yourself, in the future looking back like, damn, I should have kept some of those deals. The number one regret from old people who used to do real estate or did real estate when they're older is, I should have held on to more.
Oh yeah. I'm telling you, there's no publicly traded wholesaling company. There's plenty of hedge funds out there getting rentals, doing very well. So the next option is, do you do any creative financing when it comes to rental properties too?
Do a lot. We buy a couple sub twos every month. And creative finance, pretty much every deal we do is creative finance. If you're calling private money creative finance, because every property we purchase, whether it be a flip property or one we're going to burr, we buy with a private lender. So we've been using private lenders for years, and we also do sub two deals. we've done some owner financing, but these days, I mean, this hot market, a lot of sellers don't really need to do seller financing. They just want to sell it for cash, and that's kind of the market right now. But we've been doing creative stuff in real estate on the buys and sells, acquisitions and dispositions. We do, we do creative stuff all the time.
Okay. My next question with private money, which is a huge thing for most like wholesalers or real estate investors or flippers. Obviously, if someone's brand new and they try to get private money, someone's going to say 10% plus. They're going to be insane.
No, I was paying much more than that. Get ready you got to pay to play, Zach. If you don't have a track record, get ready to pay. But you got to ask yourself, what's your potential profit on this deal, right? And even if you're giving away, 30%, 50% of the profit on this deal, what would your profit be if you didn't use the private money and didn't take it down? It'd be zero. So, 50% of something is better than 0% of nothing. So get ready to pay to play. If you don't have a track record, you got to pay to play. When we started out, Zach, we were paying 12% plus 3 points and then giving away 50% of the equity on top of that. We were going broke, but we built a track record, and now we're comfortably paying, 9 to, double-digit interests. And our private money has been the biggest thing in our business. We've borrowed tens of millions of dollars in doing it. But when we first started out, get ready to pay to play. I've met guys, Zach, and young guys, and they're always shopping for a better deal on private money, but they're not doing deals. So sometimes you got to get in the game. If the deal's good enough, I got a big deal going on right now, Zach. I'm paying 25% on.
Wow. Woo.
Because it's massive. But but the deal makes sense. I mean, what are you going to do? Do deals or not do deals? The choice is yours.
It's true. My one question for you is don't reveal if you don't want your biggest private money lender. The reason why I want to ask you is, how did you find that person? And how did you cultivate that relationship?
So when we first started out, our biggest private money lenders, quite honestly, right now are dentists and doctors.
Wow.
We work with a lot of them. But when we first started out, it was the woman who was doing my bookkeeping when I was flat broke after crashing in the great financial crisis. She was helping me clean it all up when I was dealing with all this nonsense with the IRS and everybody else. And then I stayed in touch with her. Everything is relationship based. Be kind to people is what I would say. And then go to your immediate network first, right? And everything is a relationship based transaction and business. But the old bookkeeper that I had when I was down and out, actually introduced me to a guy who was out in California, flew out to meet him. But he manages a fund, he raises money and actually buys companies. He's kind of like a Shark Tank kind of guy. And he had a lot of money, and I was willing to pay 12%, 3 points, and half the profits. So he was all in. But after I got my start, I wasn't afraid to pay to play. And after doing a bunch of deals, building a resume, I was able to move into, and actually have a presentation like, hey, here's the last couple projects I've done. If you don't have that yet, expect to pay to play. Get in there, get your nose bloody a little bit. If you have a good deal, pay to play, but then use that deal on your resume to generate and raise cheaper capital in the future. That's how it works.
All right. And how would someone brand new try to get their nose bloody, starting finding these type of people? Where would someone today go and find someone like that?
Start with finding the deal. Somebody approached me and said, hey, I'm looking to borrow private money and do real estate, because we do lending as well here in the Columbus, Ohio area, in markets that we understand and in deals that we can underwrite. But first I'd say, well, what deals do you have right now? And if the person's like, well, I don't have any deals yet, well, I'm going to send you right back and give you the same advice that I'm giving your listeners right now. Is like, you got to find the deals. there's an old saying, and I think it was like Ron LeGrand, one of the godfathers of the business. No, he's still alive, actually. He's kicking ass. Ron LeGrand's the man. I think Carlton Sheets passed away, though.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I don't know some of the OGs. Like I know,
maybe it was Carlton Sheets, rest in peace. Maybe it was Ron LeGrand. But look, if you find a good enough deal, the money will show up. So focus on finding good deals. And if you're out there wholesaling right now, you're doing the right thing. Get out there and find deals and keep wholesaling, but then start to talk to people. And a good way to approach somebody, Zach, is, when you're talking to somebody who has money, let them know about your wholesaling business. Let them know about all the deals that you're finding off market, undervalued, and be like, you know what? We should be hanging on to some of these things. Would you be open to doing a deal with me? I'll find it. I'll coordinate this thing. We can make money together. It's as easy as that. If you're willing to get out there, don't let the lack of private lenders stop you from getting in the wholesaling business. That is straight up paralysis of analysis. That's all bogus. And I'm not going to curse on your podcast. It's all BS, man. It's like, oh, I'm not getting started in real estate because I don't have private money. Well, no, you're not getting started in real estate because you're not even out there trying to find deals. Deals is where it is going to attract the money. I mean, if somebody approached me, it was like, look, here's the last 5 wholesales I've done, and with wholesaling, you need no private money. You're not, managing contractors. Get out there, get off your butt and start making money in wholesaling, but then even use your wholesaling experience to raise the money. Anyone who has money, if somebody approached me and was like, look at the last whatever deals I've done, I'm interested in talking to you. Anyone with money wants to work with somebody who's already in the business. Don't be one of these victims who's, oh yeah, I'm waiting for the private lenders to show up before I, get started in the real estate business. You know what that is? It's like sitting by a cold fireplace and saying, oh, I'm going to put some logs in this thing as soon as the fire starts, right? You're wasting your time. You're never going to make it. Get out there, hustle, make money, wholesale, and the money's going to show up. And share your deals, share your experience with the wholesaling with potential private lenders, and then show the opportunity. If I had the private money, I would be able to make more money, and you could make money too. And it's a no-brainer at that point.
I agree. I mean, the one point you did there is one of my best cash buyers is a heart surgeon. Doctors have a lot of money, and a lot of them are they want to invest. So it's huge. That's how I found one of my best cash buyers. That's a great nugget right there.
Well, you got to ask yourself this: what are people going to do with their money? Either A, put it in the stock market. You already went through them. Crypto. I mean, nobody with a lot of money that I know is really sold on crypto. Bond market. Where's the 10-year treasury at? 1.4. I mean, come on. So if you could offer somebody double-digit interest secured by real estate, improve your ability to find these great deals, improve your ability by the previous wholesales you've done, I know it makes a lot of sense for all parties involved. I
agree. There's a delicate line. I believe, since you are a business owner, you run a wholesaling business, and you have been for a while. When should someone keep in reinvesting in the business versus actually start buying assets, especially when they're starting out?
Keep it small, keep it all, man. I think I don't know. It's not hard to find yourself on a hamster wheel where you keep reinvesting in the business and you're making more money, but then you're also paying more taxes and the expenses keep going up. So you got to look at your own personal situation. And I think, after you've hit that 2-year mark where you actually have the ability to qualify for good long-term financing, you really got to take a good hard look at hanging on to some stuff. If you're wholesaling because there's just no opportunities for you to buy and hold, hey, do what you got to do to keep the lights on. I completely respect that. But I mean, if you've been doing this and like you actually are, have the ability to borrow, buy and hold money, you got to ask yourself, what's stopping you? Because if you don't hang on to some assets, you're going to be looking for a job at some point. You gotta hang on to some assets. I've learned this lesson myself, Zach. And so I would say, like, what is your ability to qualify for financing? And then at that point, if you got a lender on the hook where you can get some 30-year money, I don't know. I think the decision it answers itself. It's like, dude, put the money towards a down payment or put the money towards holding on to assets. If you could keep your lights on and pay yourself and feed your family and feed yourself, and then have the ability to buy and hold properties, that's the answer. Don't increase your overhead to make more money if it's only going to be taxed higher. Like, focus on taking advantage of the low interest we're all exposed to right now. And you got to hang on to some stuff. Do you agree?
I agree. I mean, assets are, it's what, if wholesaling gets banned tomorrow, there's double closings or everything. I mean,
I'm not in fear. I don't encourage any of your listeners to live in fear of wholesaling is going to get banned. There's always a way to make money, but any of the quick money we make in real estate is highly taxed. And all the richest people who've ever lived, who've owned real estate, they've owned it. They've owned real estate. That's going to produce the tax benefits and the long-term residual wealth that we're looking for.
I 100% agree. The next question I have for you here is in your wholesaling business and in your regular business now. So right now, there's a lot of people watching this. They're making money. What is your guide from someone to get from 0 to 1 rental property and then from 1 to 5? Wholesaling full time, then trying to get some rentals on the side. They don't know anything what to do. They're brand new. They're cash heavy, but they don't have any assets. What is your plan, or what would you tell that person what they should be doing?
So it's easy I have the easy answer, and unfortunately it's probably been the played out answer, but I want everyone to take this wholeheartedly is you got to find, and I'm going to say find out, I don't even want to use the M word. You know what the M word I'm going to say is?
Mentorship.
Exactly, man. Because that word has been watered down so hard, right? And I had this conversation with a good friend today. Like, he was getting into some stuff and we were getting into some stuff about just high level, finance and everything that we talk about every day. And, he's like, where do you learn this stuff? Because I was like helping him, and I'm like, bro, I have friends who are in their 60s and 70s, man. And these have been my friends since they've been in their 50s and 40s, and I've been in my 20s, you got to find friends, or the M word, people willing to help you who have what you have, who have a business that you want. And the name of the game is not just to find any random people. You got to have similar core values, you got to believe in kind of the same things, and they'll come if you're looking. I mean, keep knocking on doors, man. I mean, and they will show up for you, but kind of have that clear understanding of look, I want to find people who have what I have and then learn from them. But in exchange, I want to learn from them, but I'm also willing to add as much value as I possibly can to these individuals and expect nothing in return. That is the greatest advice you can possibly be given if you're young. Be willing to work and not be compensated in monetary form, but be compensated in value form of mindset and just understanding the basics. When I was first getting started, Zach, my very first private money lender is this individual. His name is Steve. I would never give his full name because he does not want any spotlight whatsoever. The guy wears overalls every day and drives a pickup truck. He's got a dog riding in the front seat, and he owns a crap ton of real estate and still works on it to this day. He doesn't need to show up to work every day, but he does. And he taught me how to use one of these. This was not planned, but it's still on my desk every single day. Do you know what this is?
Financial calculator.
It's a financial calculator. You understand money. He taught me how to make money. And he never paid me a dime. In fact, he was my first private lender. And when things started to go bad in 07 and 08, one of his deals went bad. And guess what? When I said, hey, Steve, what do? He said, you do what you got to do, but you pay me back every single cent of interest you owe me, because this is how money works. And this is the only way you're going to learn. There's no favors. There's no like, yeah, let's give him the soft cushion. Let's give him a silver spoon. No. So find people who understand money on a high level, understand real estate on a high level, and be willing to work for them for free. I was on this guy's roofs of rental properties. I was helping install things and work on, swamp coolers. I was living out west at the time, and fix ACs, install hot water tanks. Like that was my life. I wanted to add as much value to this person as I could so I can learn. And lo and behold, here we are today. And I'm trying to help other people too. So that's my advice. Awesome.
I love it. So let's get some questions from the audience here. Let's see. Best. It's a good question here from the City of Success. Best advice for a 16-year-old trying to get into real estate, specifically wholesaling.
I think everything you want to learn is on YouTube. What do you want to know about wholesaling? Here's all the answers to your questions right here. Find an off-market deal, negotiate it, put it in contract, and then find a buyer who's willing to pay more, and then earn a spread. There you go. But get off your butt and do it. That's my advice. Go find a deal. Go find an off-market deal and have the courage to negotiate it, put it in contract, and make it happen. The first contract I signed, Zach, I was shaking at this stupid diner where I was signing a contract with this crazy person, right? You got to step out of the comfort zone and just find an off-market deal, put this sucker in contract. Because guess what? With wholesaling, there's no risk. Where does the risk lie in real estate investing? Well, paying too much and borrowing private money. With wholesaling, you don't have to do that though, right? Or taking on a big rehab, that's scary, or dealing with a bad tenant. None of that happens in wholesaling. Put the sucker in contract and find a buyer for more, right? That's it. Just get out there and find off-market deals.
I agree. That simple.
Come on. What do you want? There's no secret sauce here. Go find a deal and find someone willing to pay more. It doesn't matter if you're in stocks or crypto or anything. You buy something, you sell something, or find a buyer for more. And that's it. It doesn't have to be this complicated thing here anymore. Sorry, I'm upset now. No, just kidding.
I love it. Enkel says, I agree with the strategy 100% here. Viviana has a good question here. Can you elaborate more on how we would go about your income and tax writing off in advance?
Yes. So great question, Viviana, and thank you for being on this. So when you own rental properties, you can do something called accelerated depreciation. So there's appreciation, which is things going up, and then depreciation, which is the material cost of our buildings that we own going down in value. So the IRS, first off, the tax code is completely written for the rich and the real estate owners. Yep. So you're in the right business. And if you're listening to Zach's podcast, you're in the right place. So one of the fruitful benefits of owning real estate is you can write off future losses. So if you have the IRS identifies all of these things as being worth some, for a building, like the driveway, here's the value of a driveway. This is how the IRS looks at it. You can basically write off in the future, this driveway is going to be worth less. So I'm going to take those losses today. They let you go into the future and take losses of a property you own today and then apply them to wholesale revenue today as well. It's pretty crazy stuff, right? This is not rocket science. You obviously got to talk to a CPA. I'm butchering it, but basically you're taking future losses of the material deterioration of your property and applying those to your revenue today. And that's kind of how it works. It's written that way. And that's why you got to buy and hold alongside of your wholesaling business. It's not a one or the other type of business here, everybody. It is a, both business. Buy and hold for the long term and to offset your taxes on the wholesaling revenue, which is keeping you in business right now, keeping the lights on, and allowing you to keep pursuing this thing. So what I would say to any wholesaler right now is like, look, keep wholesaling, but get your butt out there and find some long-term financing so you can start buying and holding as well and do both. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I agree. Viviana, also, if you make under 200K and you're not married, I know you can do a 199A deduction, get a CPA on there, but I know you can write off income also, potentially like 20%, but that'll probably go away soon. Let's see here. Big Brother says, hey guys, good information. I'm using wholesaling fees to put down on multifamily units. What's your opinion on multifamily versus single family? I think I know the answer, but for everyone who is new to you.
I'm buying both. I'll be upfront with you. So a better question, I'm very bullish on single family. I think single family ultimately is better because you can get the same non-recourse financing as you can. I did a debate with Tim Bratz, who's a good friend of mine, and everybody knows that guy, and he's phenomenal. And I've actually paid him for consulting on deals as well. He's a bull with the multifamily, killing it. And I'm more of a bull, I would say, with single family, although I'm buying a lot of multifamily as well. I like single family better for the simple reason there's more exit strategies. I like building a buy and hold portfolio of single families because sometimes in business, you need to generate some cash. You need revenue, right? And I like the opportunity to maybe pair off one or two of the single families. You can sell them individually to raise more capital if your business needs it. And then there's way more exit strategies. I mean, come on. I mean, you could do a land contract. You can sell it on owner financing. You can, sell it to a tenant and sell it to an FHA buyer. You can't do that with any of your tenants. And then I also think COVID opened a lot of our eyes to people don't want to be as much in apartments as they do in the space of a single family home, have a pet. If we're all stuck at home anyway, what would you rather be in, single family or multifamily? But both provide their own benefits. I deal with both. I think the key is this, everybody, whether it's single family or multifamily, I think there's way more single family out there to choose from. So if you're just getting started, don't just sit around and wait for a multifamily to come across your plate. Get out there and there's so many thousands of single families to go after. Always be up at the plate, swinging the bat at single families, making money in single family. And what you're going to find is once you're good at finding deals, then you're going to find multifamily as well. It's not a one or the other. I prefer single family just because there's way more of them. The vast majority of my portfolio is built on single family. But stick to the affordable housing, whether it be single family or multifamily. Affordable housing is going to serve you well. That produces a cash flow. The financing is pretty similar for either one, although you can get true 30-year fixed rate money on the single family, not so much on the multifamily. So the financing is actually a little better of what you can get with the single family, but you can scale much more rapidly with multifamily. But if you're just getting started, come on, what are you trying to scale? You're at 0 right now. Let's get you to 1 before we get you to let's scale across the country and do this, that, and the other. So I think multifamily is much more sexy. It sounds a lot better, probably looks a lot better on Instagram, but I encourage people to do both. But if you're just getting started, get in the single family ring, stick to the affordable housing, and just get a couple of deals under your belt.
I agree. Great question here from someone on the group here is, what does your team look like and what systems do you have in place right now?
So systems are key. We have a operations manager, and really we've broken our business down to 4 departments. So we have acquisitions, we have rehab, we have property management, and we have dispositions. So acquisitions, we have 6 cold callers right now, banging the phones all day. And then when they find somebody who is remotely interested in selling their property, they send it to an acquisitions manager. We have 2 acquisitions managers who are going to close the deal, work the deal, do the podio, follow up with this lead and whatnot. We still do direct mail and PPC as well. Be careful with PPC. I encourage everyone to do cold calling to get started because it's so easy and low cost, and you want to get on the phone with as many people as you can when you're first starting out. So acquisitions is pretty much 6 cold callers trickle down to 2 closers to get the deals, and then we have rehab, which is a revolving door. We've worked with so many contractors. Protect yourself when you're rehabbing as many properties as we do, but that's a whole department in of itself. It kind of describes itself, but so many contractors. We work with subs, so we don't have anyone on staff that is just doing our rehabs. We have outsourced it. But it is a hiring and firing machine, paperwork machine, which we've mastered. But my goodness, we used to have a project manager, and we actually have a guy on staff that writes our scopes and kind of checks in with the contractors. We do have in the field inspectors just to kind of like make sure, and you could do that yourself, like if you're just getting started. But that's like rehab. Rehab is very much outsourced but managed. And then property management, like I said, I think there's no better thing you could be doing with your time than doing the actual setup. Sit down with a tenant, let them know the laws of the land, the lay of the land, if you will, because no one's ever going to care about this property more than you. And let them know the 3 rules. Hey, pay your rent on time, don't damage the property, and don't mess with your neighbors. More applicable for the multifamily. People want to fight, get arrested, do their own thing, but you only care about the property. But when you're doing these lease signings, we still do all of our own lease signings because that's how important we feel it is. And as far as the rent collection, we do work with a third party through the property management software we use, AppFolio, so people could pay their rent online and things like that. But as far as the maintenance, inspections, and lease signings, we handle all that ourselves. And then finally, disposition. That's probably the easiest department right now in today's times. Dispo, and anyone can sell a good deal, So, we do have a dispositions person who sells our wholesale deals. And we're trying not to sell too many of the rentals. In fact, we do more wholesaling. We do some fix and flip as well, but a lot of wholesaling, fix and flip. It's just dispo's easy. That's wiffle ball. The hardest thing right now is finding good off-market deals to buy. Second hardest thing is kind of setting up.
All right. Looks like he hopped off by accident. Looks like his internet went out, which is fine. So overall, we're gonna give this a couple minutes, see if Dave can hop back on here, but no big deal. But great lessons I'm learning from this one. But going from 0 to 100 deals, it's 0 to 100 rental properties is amazing. I think I'm learning a lot here. Obviously, I'm not the biggest guy when it comes to learning loans or borrowing money for like on the Burr model. I'm not big on that. Big on private money. So overall, what I can say here while I'm waiting for him to hop on, if he can't hop back on, is I'm learning a lot. I mean, private money is king. It's so super important. All right. Looks like he hopped off for a second.
No, yeah, I got booted out. I'm sorry about that. That's our business in a nutshell, the 4 departments and kind of how we're set up.
Awesome. And so last couple questions I got for you here is I have to ask someone who is a 16-year veteran in real estate in general. Everyone would kill me if I don't ask, but what is your craziest real estate story?
Craziest real estate story. Oh my gosh. I mean, as far as what? I mean,
Do you
like
have any crazy real estate
feeling like
stories?
no. Let's get context. So, like feeling physically, I've had guns pulled on me. I've like dealt with meth labs. I've dealt with like
Jesus.
huge rats and roaches and being covered in fleas and having to strip down, being naked in my driveway because my clothes were infested with bugs and I didn't want to bring them in my house. Like, no, truly, truly. I mean, how far do you want to go?
Woo.
I've had, full blown prostitution rings happening in rentals. I've had numerous, a lot of drug activity, police. I've dealt with the police quite a bit, and I support our police. By the way, thank you. Us real estate investors should support our police. By the way, they keep us safe out there. I've been threatened quite a bit, just tenants, people trying to mean mug me and threaten me, and it's part of real estate, man. It's
Wow. Okay. And what is the largest real estate deal you've done in the past? Any really awesome ones that you had?
Yeah, I mean, we've sold numerous packages of properties, and we have, netted over $100,000 on one single deal of just selling, 10 or so properties. But the biggest deal I've ever done, I'm actually in right now. It's over 400 units, and we're in contract, and I got to wake up in the morning and go meet an appraiser to we're solidifying this deal. So the best is yet to come, I will say, as far as the biggest, but there's been, I would say the biggest up to this point has been big refis. I mean, we've refied 10 or 20 properties at a time, and that's where you can really pull out 300,000 or 400,000 tax free. Using the BRRRR method, you refi a big chunk of properties. Those are big deals. I love it because it's like tax-free money. When you do these BRRRR deals and pull that money out, it's tax-free. But the biggest deal, I would say, like gross and property value wise that I've ever done is yet to come. We're in contract and hopefully closing sooner than later.
Exciting.
Thank you, bro.
And what are some of the biggest lessons that you could tell your younger self that could have helped you out a lot in the process?
Great question. So younger self, Colin Andrews, what's going on, man? I got a little comment going on right here. So biggest lessons are, don't try to do it all yourself and be a lone wolf. Rely on a network. Add as much value as you possibly can for free. If this is what you want to do, give to the community. Give back to the community and expect nothing in return. Be willing to work for free. Great advice. And then, character, true character, which in a nutshell is don't screw people over and be a jerk, outweighs personality and work ethic. In fact, I thought about posting that today. Like, I just popped to my mind. But if you have good character and you're an honest individual, maybe you're quiet. Maybe your personality, you don't feel as this outgoing person who's going to be on a podcast and do videos and do all this stuff. Maybe your personality is not that type. But if you have good character and you're willing to work for what you want, you will get results. Character, good character, not screwing people over, outweighs an outgoing personality all day long. And that would be my advice. Be willing to work for free, be honest, good character, and find people with similar core values, which are just beliefs, right? If you're a church-going individual, find other church-going individuals. That's fine. It's good. Find people that you can relate to who also have good character, and just be willing to work for them for free in exchange for the knowledge. It truly is invaluable.
100%. Last question I got for you here, Dave,
Sure.
is This is the Bags Riches podcast. So I did start as a bag boy at 17 with $300 in my bank account. So the last question I always ask everyone is, Dave, if you were back at 17 years old, I don't know if you're in Arizona or Cleveland at the time, but if you were back at 17 years old today in 2021 with $300, what would you do to become the next Dave Payerchin?
I'd start making more money. You got to make money. You got to keep the engine going. So, I mean, we would all love some special bag of magic beans to buy for $300 and it's going to like plant these beans and now you're rich. No, you got to make money. Get off your ass and start working. That's what you got to do. You got to bring in the bacon. You got to make money. So, you know, if it means getting a W-2 job, hey, it may not look cool on Instagram. Hey, no, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, but do you want to be a successful entrepreneur, right? Make money. Go get a job, work, turn that $300 into more, pay your bills, pay your rent. Don't get an eviction, right? So, I mean, keep the money coming in and be willing to do whatever it takes to make money. So you got to keep the money coming in. And then what I would do to give more, you know, more of a better answer, I would say, like to real estate entrepreneurs is find off market deals, get yourself a data list. You can go to places, you know, like PropStream and there's a lot of data out there. Just have the courage, run a skip trace on this stuff, pick up the phone and just start making connections. Pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. If you don't have the courage to pick up the phone and make, I don't know, and 10 calls a day, you know, you got to pick up the phone and do something, but also keep the income coming in. Everybody's in such a big hurry to leave their job, but they don't even have any income coming in and you're going to run yourself out of business. So keep the money coming in, make real estate a side hustle, but have the courage to pick up the phone, get a list, skip trace it, and start making calls, being genuine. Don't sound like a robot reading a script. Make connections, genuinely try to help people, find people who do what you want to do, who have what you want to have in your life, add as much value to them for free. And that's my advice, Zach.
That's awesome.